So we are continuing on with our theme for the year, A Day at a Time, Oneness. And our theme for the month, Trusting. And a few spiritual principles to get us grounded in the word for today. As I always do every Sunday, reading from what Ernest Holmes penned some 100 years ago, what we believe, we've numbered them, we call them principles. There's millions and millions of principles, maybe not millions, but lots of principles. And we've added other things to our spiritual principles to help us garner a greater understanding of just what they mean. So this morning we're working with spiritual principle number 1, and it reads, we believe in God, the living spirit, almighty one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. We believe this one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. Spiritual principle number 2, we believe in the individualization of the Spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one Spirit. Spiritual principle 11, we believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny, for we understand that the life of all is God. And finally, spiritual principle number 3, we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. Trusting. The last 2 weeks, I have said that trusting requires us to do more than act like we know that I in the midst of me is mighty. Trusting requires us to do more than acting like we know that heaven is within. Trusting requires us to live like I in the midst of me is mighty. Trusting requires us to live like heaven is within. In fact, that is what trusting is. It is then that we have practices, and our practices are to be practiced, and our principles are to be lived. There's an emphasis on living. The principles are to be lived, the practices are to be practiced so that we be transformed, so that you and I are forever becoming more and more and more and more of who we are, and never the less. So in that sense then, we begin to experience the presence of God and our oneness with all of life. It becomes more than a momentary experience. It becomes a lived experience. Therefore, it's available to us all the time. Not just sometime am I living this way, not just someday am I living this way, not just on Sunday am I living this way, but a day at a time I live this way. I don't just act like it, I live like it. It's not just what we think then, it is how we live. The word trusting suggests that there is something that we can rely on, that there's something for us to trust. And in this teaching, there are no books. In this teaching, there is no one book to rely on. There are not multiple books for us to rely on. That's not what the teaching offers. In fact, in one of Ernest Holmes' presentations, I don't know if it was at a Sillamar or at a retreat or something, but he is penned as saying that you are religious science. The way in other words, the way you live your life. He said, not me, not the book, you and me. We are it. And for those who might not know who Ernest Holmes is the founder of religious science, known today as Centers for Spiritual Living, just one of many metaphysical teachings. But the organization that we belong to, and it is a greater organization called Centers for Spiritual Living, he is the founder of it. So, as I said, he said that you and I, the way we live our life, is religious science, is science of mind. So some people are drawn to this teaching, this metaphysical type of teaching, because of the false certainty found in some other religious traditions. You know what I'm talking about? A false certainty where there are boxes perhaps to be checked off that will somehow assume certainty. This type of tradition, this type of living, we find that one is often more focused on dying rather than living. The focus is on dying so that they can live instead of living so that they can die instead of dying so that we may live. A dying of our limited thinking, a dying of our limited perceptions so that you and I can live fully. So that you and I can begin to live like the I in the midst of me is mighty, and so that you and I can begin to live like heaven is truly within. So, you know, that is one of the big differences between a teaching like this and a traditional type of teaching. You know, it's you and it's me who are to prove it, not a book perhaps per se to be read, but you and I. So if you're looking for certainty, let me tell you now, you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. There's no certainty here. This teaching is full of uncertainty. Yet, it does not leave one without, or let me say it like this, it does not fall short of helping you help you. Yes. Matter of fact, you should tell your neighbor, the teaching is here to help you help you. Yes, the teaching is here to help you so that we be transformed. But this transformation, it doesn't happen overnight. But you can experience it a day at a time. If you're willing to live like I in the midst of me is mighty, if you're willing to live like heaven is within. Last week I quoted Ernest Holmes where he wrote that we are to be humble before truth, he suggests. And perhaps what he is suggesting is that on our journey of transformation, that we don't get so high in our own thinking, that we don't get so high that we become, how do they say it, so heavenly good and no good on earth or something like that, but that we don't get so high where we think that the little bit we know is absolute. The little bit that we know, no, I'm certain about it. No, I'm not certain about it. But a day at a time, the time I take to allow the power and presence of God to speak through me, the time I take to trust in it, the time I take to affirm it in the midst of me, the time I take to affirm that heaven is right here within me and that I bring it wherever I go, the time I take to do that is what's absolute, is what is certain. So, what we get then from our teaching is we get to live the principles and we get to practice the practices. The principles and the practices, they move us to becoming, as I said, more of who we are and never the less. This is being transformed and not conformed, not returning to what we used to think, and not so tempted to turn back to our little perceptions and our little ideas about whatever experiences we have had in our life. This is a teaching of transformation, not confirmation. So here's how it starts, though, for many of us. The journey is one that moves us into, as we often like to say, to change our thinking. It's a journey of changing your thinking so that you can change your life. But greater than that is that we live our life in such a way that we are moved to new ways of thinking. Y'all didn't hear me. Let me run it back. We start one place, but we end in another place. When we enter into the doors, when we're fresh to the teaching, what is offered to us is the opportunity to begin to change our thinking. And when we change our thinking, we start to live in new ways. But soon, to the one who is serious about their spiritual life, soon what we are moved into doing is to living in such a way that we are moved to new ways of thinking. If you don't live, you won't ever get to experience a new way of thinking. If you don't live, if you're unwilling to live in such a way where you affirm that I in the midst of me is mighty, if you are unwilling to live in a way where you affirm and know that heaven is within, you'll never be moved into a new idea. You'll simply be living your life with a new thought, but seen through the old lens of your perspective and your experiences. In other words, not too much has changed. Not too much has changed. Richard Rohr, the Franciscan priest, he says it like this, quote, "We don't think ourselves into new ways of living, we live ourselves into new ways of thinking." We live ourselves into new ways of thinking. So what is it then exactly that we can rely on? Well, we can rely on our changed thinking. We can rely on our changed mind. We can rely on our changed thinking and our changed mind. And so our changed mind. So the question is have you changed your thinking lately? Have you changed your mind lately? Have you changed your mind lately? I mean, the question is, Twana, how are you living? How are you living? These are the questions daily that we are called to ask ourselves, because if you can't change your thinking, if you can't change your mind, if you won't change your mind, if you don't change your mind, then you can't change nothing. You can't change nothing. So in order then for us to change our mind, you have to change how you see things. You have to change how you see things. You have to change how you see the moment. You have to change how you see what's before you. You have to change how you see. You have to become aware of how you process a thing when something happens, how you process a thing, whether the thing is causing you to feel good or whether the thing is causing you to feel some other type of way. You got to be able to process how the thing is making you feel. If you want to change how you see things, if you want to change how you're living, if you want to change your mind, if you want to be able to change what you're thinking, you have to be able to see things differently. You know, are you trying to sort through things and see things in such a way where you are clear about you're either on this side of things or you're on that side of things? That's not quite being present to what life is presenting to you, but it's an old way of doing things. When something happens, are you, kind of arguing about it? Are you trying to fit it in such a way that it is to your liking? When life presents things to you, when it presents the thing for you to be present to, when it presents an opportunity for you to see things differently, just how do you process things? Listen, our practitioners are masters of processing. And you want to become a master of processor. How you see things. That's our goal. That is the ultimate. How do you see it? How do you process it? When we are trusting, when we live like heaven is within us, when we live like I in the midst of me is mighty, we only process things one way. Infinite. Infinite. It's not just this, it's infinite. It's not just that, it's infinite. How do you process it? In other words, we cultivate within us our capacity to see things as they really are. As they really are. Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind textbook, he says that, yes, we see things as they are. We admit that a thing is a thing. But it is quite a different thing to admit its necessity. That it's necessity, that it is necessary. Yeah, it happened, and it's quite another thing to say the day after that it happened. It's not a necessity. It happened, and it's not necessary. It's not a necessity 10 years later to be saying that it happened. It's not a necessity. It happened. Admit the fact, it happened. And now process. Be open to changing your perspective. This is living. This is trusting, processing. It happened. This is what happened to me. Admit it, but don't go on living that way. Don't go on being informed by your past. In the Science of Mind textbook, here's what Ernest Holmes says. On page 213, he says, yes, we admit the fact, it happened. And as Hazel always tells us, when it's bold and it's in all caps, it means pay attention. He says, it is quite a different thing to admit its necessity. We admit that there is unhappiness, but would it be unthinkable to admit that one has to be unhappy? Can it be true that there could be a universal necessity for unhappiness? In all caps, it cannot. And the time will come when no one will be unhappy. I do not know when it will come. I'm not going to wait for it to come, but it is certain that such a time will arrive. And it will come to you, and it'll come to me. Now, in such a degree as we will let it come. We shall be able to let it come in such degree as we are able to convince our consciousness that it is there. And when it finally does come, we shall find that it was always there. It was always there. Trusting is not conforming to the past. Trusting is not relying on our past perception. Trusting is not relying on old ideas and any old idea. No, trusting is being open to the infinite for its divine and holy idea. The problem is that it's easy to forget that we have something to rely on. Tell your neighbor, you got something to rely on. You got something to rely on. You got something to rely on. See, but we forget that we have something to rely on. We forget that we've changed our thinking. We forget that we've changed our mind. We forget that I don't live like that no more. And when I do forget that I don't live like that no more, I got a whole bunch of people to remind me, you don't live like that no more. Stop acting like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't live like that no more. I haven't just changed my thinking. I haven't just changed my mind. I live differently. I live different today. I'm not the same Twana I was yesterday. I'm certainly not the same Twana I was 100 days ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm not the same. I live a different way. I live a different way so I can be moved to new ideas. I'm not just waiting and thinking a new idea so I can live a new way. We have something to rely on, and I'm trusting that when I'm moved out of trusting, that just as quickly as I moved out of trusting, that I'm moved back into trusting. That's what I'm trusting. The moment I moved out of trusting, that I moved back into trusting. I'm trusting that I'll remember to remember to remember to remember. I'm trusting that I'll remember to remember. I remember a long time ago, this guy, he wanted to date me. And so he had seen me a long time ago, but I didn't really remember him. So he came up to me, he was like, "You remember, don't you?" "No," I said, "I don't remember nothing." "Do you mean remember?" Listen, our job is to remember to remember. Don't be going around here remembering. I don't even know what it is. To remember. We have something to rely on. To remember that love is everywhere. To remember that peace is within, that peace hasn't gone anywhere. To remember that the ideas are infinite and that my perspective of the thing, although it did happen, it's just a little perspective of the thing. And to remember to open up to God's infinite ideas, to remember love, and to remember wholeness, to remember abundance, to remember that peace, that love, that is not some far off idea. We don't have to endure. This is not a teaching that says you must endure. No, this is a teaching that says you must transform. You must change your thinking. You must change your mind. You must change the way you live. You must change the way you live, and then you'll change your thinking, and certainly you will change your mind. It is always a possibility. Love is always a possibility. Peace is always a possibility. Joy is always a possibility. Truth is always a possibility to the one who is open, to the one who is available to live themselves into a new way of thinking. Practitioners, let us be moved into anchoring this morning and to a time of prayer where we begin now again to remember, to become so aware of a power and a presence that's never in absence, that is infinite in its expression, that is everywhere and nowhere, that is everything and nothing, that is everything that we see and everything that we can imagine and everything that we are yet to see and we are yet to imagine. It is infinite. It's infinite. And just as it is infinite, we are infinite. Nothing certain about us. And infinite is the only thing that we are about. So I declare and decree in our time together, as I know this truth for you and know this truth for me, that we let go of our certainty, any desire in us to experience certitude, and we open up to that which is infinite within us. I affirm for you, as I affirm for myself, that today, this day, I am moved to live in the possibilities of the thing that happened. I'm moved in such a way that I'm no longer bound or tied to the thing that happened. I acknowledge it as such, and then I become open and available to right seeing. I affirm for you, as I affirm for myself, that there is a new way to see things that is without a sense of trying to conform and shape and form the thing that happened in a way that fits me or is right for me. No, today I declare for you, as I declare for myself, I'm letting it go. I'm willing to be available to life just as life is, because life is infinite and life is good. And I know for you, as I know for myself, that there is a clearing up going on, that our eyes are made clear, that our ears are made clear, that our hearts is made clear today, so that we may see rightly, so that we can see what we've never seen before about the thing, so that we can sense something more about the thing that happened, so that we can begin to affirm and know the infinite possibilities of God that awaits our recognition of it, so that you and I can begin to live like we know that the presence of God, I in the midst of me, is mighty, so that you and I can begin here and now to affirm and know that when we say it, we mean it. Heaven is within. It's within. Let us in this moment just simply be grateful for it. This moment of possibility and potentiality. This moment to live our lives in a different way. This moment to affirm and to know I live this way. Not someday, not Sunday, but every day I live this way. I know for you as I know for myself. Then I remember to remember. I remember to remember. I remember to remember that God is with me. I remember to remember that everything that I need in this moment to move me into living like I know I'm supposed to be living, that I'm reminded in this moment in an instant, and I'm propelled to be open to the possibilities, that something more is available to me, that there is something really and truly that I can rely on. Yes. I'm grateful. And moved in this moment to just simply gather the words that have been spoken, the songs that have been sung, the love that is filling this place and fueling this space, the ideas that have caused this time to unfold in such a way for each one of us to remember that this teaching offers us everything we need to help ourselves, We're not here to endure and to wait, have some other place to go, but no, we affirm and know we are here to do what we're supposed to do now. And the whole universe conspires for our good. I'm grateful for this. Moved into surrendering my words because I know that it is already so. Why don't y'all come on and agree with me by saying, and so it is. As we journey on throughout our week, let me remind you that you have something that you can rely on. It is your own changed thinking and your own changed mind. Live like it and rely on it. And so it is.